Scientists have just announced that days after CERN, the European Organisation for Nuclear Research, turned up the Large Hadron Collider with a new maximum beam of energy, they detected that a crack had opened in the Earth's magnetic field, and said that it stayed open for 14 hours. Jokes were then shared as this happened around the same time as Stranger Things got released, and led some to theorise that perhaps CERN was opening a portal and that something otherworldly might come through. Although a hole did open in Earth's magnetic field, scientists have said that no interdimensional beings have come through yet. The researchers did say though that while the hole was open, it did allow some powerful solar winds to come through. For those unaware, the Earth's magnetic field is an incredibly important aspect to our planet that we do not often talk about, not outside of science lessons at least. The magnetic field can help keep us on track, keeping our compass needles pointing north, but it also keeps our planet habitable by deflecting solar winds that otherwise would threaten to strip away the ozone layer. We may not discuss the magnetic field on a regular basis, but it's truly important in maintaining life as we know it. Those working at NASA have said that it's important to conduct further research on solar winds, saying that forceful solar mass ejections can damage or destroy Earth-orbiting satellites, and create power surges that can black out entire cities. This recent hole that was opened up turned out to be a rare phenomenon that goes by the name of co-rotating interaction region. This region has been described as having long-lasting plasma structures that are generated in low and middle latitude regions of the Sun. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration revealed that the solar storm caused a G1 class geomagnetic storm. Lately, however, something strange has been happening to that valued player, with NASA feeling the need to actively monitor and track an anomaly found in the magnetic field, where the magnetic intensity seems to have dropped. There seems to be a huge area in the magnetic field which is notably less magnetic than it should be. An area spanning over South America and Southwest Africa has been impacted thus far. This unusual occurrence, known as the South Atlantic anomaly, has been toying with the minds of scientists for years now. One group particularly concerned about the strange happenings are the NASA researchers. The American Space Agency has a number of satellites and spacecrafts orbiting in space, many of which orbit Earth. The concern here is that with the magnetic field being weakened, there is a greater exposure to charged particles heading our way from the Sun. The South Atlantic anomaly does not impact life on Earth, but it will have a significant impact on the spacecrafts in orbit of Earth. As they circle our planet at their low orbit altitudes, these crafts will inevitably pass straight through said anomaly. We believe that during these periods where they pass through, the lessened strength of the magnetic field can cause some disturbances in the technology used within these satellites. They can short-circuit, malfunction, and all manner of similar problems can arise when they're struck by high energy, especially charged protons from the Sun. Scientists recently announced that roughly 17 eruptions were detected in a single area of the Sun, with 2 of those flares hitting Earth at nearly 2 million miles per hour. One of the critical aspects of understanding the Sun has to do with coronal mass ejections, or CMEs, and solar flares. A reason for astronomers to keep a close eye on these CMEs is that these eruptions may be able to create blackouts and block communication systems in just a few seconds. In early 2022, SpaceX lost 40 satellites a few hours after launch due to a geomagnetic storm. These developments prove the need for astronomers to take precautions. Sunspots have long been known for their strong magnetic fields and their ability to release radiation called solar flares. One of these sunspots, called AR2975, has been quite active as of lately. Solar flares typically need around 15 to 18 hours to arrive on Earth. However, this time around, a powerful solar storm was created by a strong wave produced by a fast-moving flare, and that overtook a slower flare. The magnetic storm that resulted from this event produced a beautiful natural show of lights that are usually referred to as the northern lights. These lights were formed when the magnetic storm hit the upper layers of the Earth's atmosphere. This light show was visible all across the United States, from the northern states to Iowa and Oregon. This solar storm resulted in beautiful views, but larger solar storms can cause tremendous damage. According to SWPC, G3 storms can cause radio navigation problems at low frequency and intermittent satellite navigation problems. Scientists have even predicted that a massive G3 storm may be able to disable the internet use across the world. Those types of storms can cause trillions of dollars in damage, like the solar storm of 1989 in Quebec. According to scientists, the largest solar storm ever witnessed was in 1859 during the Carrington event, when a storm of solar particles damaged telegraph systems across the world and caused auroras that were even brighter than the full moon. As these events result in genuinely beautiful views, it's not worth the destruction, and scientists still have a long way to go in regards to investigating these events. Space has fascinated humanity for years. Ancient civilizations tried to make sense of the cosmos, and in many ways they succeeded. Human history and prehistory is filled with an endless amount of mysteries that can keep humanity puzzling over its true origins for eons to come. One of the ways we find ourselves attempting to understand these gaps in time, as well as the facts of our origins and developments, has been through the recovery of old artifacts, relics, buried sites, and long forgotten written accounts. It's through these discoveries that have allowed us in the modern age to catch a glimpse as to what our ancestors may have been doing, and why they were doing it. However, some discoveries are so strange that it's left even the top researchers in the fields questioning their findings. Apollo 17 was the last human expedition to the moon, and during this mission the crew made a variety of interesting discoveries, including finding the oldest known lunar rock, and also obtaining orange soil which contained volcanic glass. However, another discovery was accidentally made on the moon which has confused researchers for years. This photograph is from the official NASA archives of Apollo 17, and can still be found on their website. When it was first published, it was listed as blank, but when viewers looked closer they were convinced that in the background there was a mysterious structure. Those who altered the photograph's brightness and contrast said the object in question looks like a pyramid, and this led to a variety of theories to be put forward, one of which was that NASA had found this structure on the moon and tried to hide it in one of their images. Those who have seen the photographers question why NASA would list it as blank, especially because something can clearly be seen in the background. However, not everyone is entirely convinced that there's pyramids on the moon, and some have suggested that what we're looking at is a low-quality photograph snapped by one of the astronauts. Due to the image's position and lighting, this image has taken on the appearance of a pyramid. This isn't the only interesting discovery that's been made on the moon. Our moon features a gigantic crater. This hole has been on our moon for billions of years, since an unknown object hit the dark side of the moon. We have measured this crater to reach 1,550 miles in width and 8 miles in depth, and so have dubbed it one of the largest craters within our solar system. The presumed explanation for decades was simply that this crater was formed when contact was made between the moon and a meteor. If this had been the case, then there would be pieces from the outside of the moon on the surface, possibly available to examine. Some new insight was provided in January 2019, when the U2 rover was sent to the moon from China. When it reached the bottom of this mysterious crater, minute traces of minerals were recorded by U2, which appeared to have come from within the moon's mantle. In a turn of events, new data came to light within August 2019, from a study published within Geophysical Research Letters. After an analysis was conducted upon the materials found at the bottom of the peculiar crater, it revealed evidence suggesting that the crater was composed entirely of crust, with no mantle. The crust is the outer layer surface of the Moon, with the mantle coming just beneath it. This would imply that an object collided with the Moon with enough force to open a colossal crater, but not enough force to release any of the mantle onto the surface of the Moon. Co-author of the study Hao Zhang, planetary scientist working at the China University of Geosciences, explained how the team had anticipated finding the mantle materials at this landing site. He goes on to explain that the lack of mantle organisms rules out the possibility that a meteor travelling with a high velocity had caused this crater, eliminating an assumption we've been acting upon for decades. This study employed the use of spectroscopy in order to clarify and identify the minerals that had been found within the lunar soil. This process observes how each grain is reflected within both visible and near-infrared. This study was carried out using the equipment U2 was already armed with, performing these reflection tests on 6 different areas of soil, ranging up to approximately 175 feet away from the landing site. An already established database allowed each mineral to be identified based upon size, reflectance and degradation, which often occurs as a result of solar wind. Within every sample, it was evident that the primary mineral in the Moon's surface is plagioclase. We know this is common in the crust of Earth and the Moon, but that isn't likely to be found within the mantle. This mineral composition supports the meteor theory, but then the unanswered question remains as to what created this crater. If it was a meteor, then why aren't there chunks of mantle over the surface? The natural satellite orbiting planet Earth might be little more than a pretty object to look at in the night sky, while others may track the Moon's phases compulsively. Whilst we often aim to explore as far out in the universe as we possibly can, there's still so much we've yet to explore closer to home. From the first moon landing in 1969 to the most recent findings, there's still plenty we're uncovering about our Moon. US officials have said that they're impressed with what Elon is doing in regards to rocketry, with them saying that they see a future in which the US military and SpaceX can work together. The Pentagon has detailed that Elon's rockets could help the US military when it comes to combat, outlining that these rockets could be used to deploy a quick reaction force, which would help them deflect enemy attacks. Interestingly though, these comments weren't made public, but were rather gathered by documents obtained by the Intercept via the Freedom of Information Act. The United States Transportation Command, or US Transcom, revealed that it was partnering with Elon and SpaceX's rocketry, and that they were looking at whether or not it would be quicker to travel through space to launch supplies rather than flying through the air. The idea behind the project was that US Army generals wanted to be able to launch a cargo plane anywhere in the world, and wanted to do this in less than 60 minutes. The document reads as follows: US Transcom exists to project and sustain combat power at a time and place of the nation's choosing. The command seeks opportunities to evolve for tomorrow by testing new concepts and making wise investments in innovative transformational capabilities. This allows the US Transportation Command to position the joint deployment and distribution enterprises to create multiple options for nation leadership and multiple dilemmas for potential adversaries. The traditional distance-driven challenge of on-time worldwide delivery is increasingly complicated by the urgent pace of warfare in an era of contested environments and instantaneous sophisticated cyber threats. The command has identified that common user commercial point-to-point space transportation may provide a unique and disruptive capability that allows it to better support global deployment, employment and sustainment of forces. The US Transportation Command Cooperative Research and Development Agreement, CRADA 20002, was established between the Command and Space Exploration Technologies Corporation, for the parties to investigate commercial space transportation capabilities as a transportation mode to expedite global delivery of Department of Defense material and personnel. The Cooperative Research and Development Agreement explores 7 objectives. Investigate the technical feasibility of using SpaceX's Starship launch system in the next 5 years to support DoD global logistics transportation requirements. Investigate the use cases, criteria for choosing space transportation over other modes, responsiveness, supply chain integration principles, risks and military advantages of using SpaceX's Starship to meet DoD global transportation requirements. Project the cost of using SpaceX's Starship to deliver DoD cargo and personnel over the next 5 years, and compare to current transportation capabilities. Investigate the viability of and innovations for the government and SpaceX entering into an agreement, and for space transportation capacity with similarities to the Civil Reserve Air Fleet. Predict industry space transportation capabilities for the next 5, 10, and 15 years. Develop concepts for control of space transportation capabilities and implications for space traffic management and domestic international space use policies and protocols. Deliver a roadmap to demonstrate configuration, loading, launch and recovery of DoD cargo on SpaceX's Starship. A synopsis of the current state of research to address stated research objectives are listed below. SpaceX's Starship and Super Heavy booster, collectively known as Starship, is still in development. The selection of space transportation will likely be chosen through consideration of strategic messaging, priority of movement and speed. Additionally, standardization may be required across airlift and space transportation modes to enable shippers to obtain mode-neutral rapid delivery. Additionally, normalization of PTP space transportation provides an opportunity to enter an agreement for surge space transportation capacity similar to the CRAF. Commercial and government demand for space transportation enables higher launch rates that reduce costs. Foreign demand for launch services to include satellite launches may drive overseas infrastructure development that can cause global PTP space transportation. US Transportation Command, existing transportation service models that utilize the set rates, and the Transportation Working Capital Fund provides a basis for space transportation as a new mode and method of transportation. The current set of space laws and arms controls agreement were formed from the treaties, and international customs devised during the Cold War in order to define the legal boundaries of general space activities. Attempts to prohibit the weaponization of space and regulate ballistic missile development and testing. The current set of space laws and arms control agreements are applicable to commercial PTP space transportation and may require revision to address commercial PTP space transportation. Aviation experts have said this is one of the ways that the US Transportation Command, which is part of the Pentagon, will gain the upper hand in regards to space technology and also international relations. It's important to note that as of right now, no actual warfare is known to have taken place in space, but researchers have noted that throughout the years countries have carried out tests in space. As mentioned in the document, international treaties do exist that are placed there in order to regulate and stop conflicts in space, and that are designed to limit the installation of space weaponry systems. The document highlights that space launches would primarily focus on transporting military cargo, but the Pentagon has also said that it would look into sending military personnel into the stratosphere. The document reveals 3 potential uses of space transportation for the US military, including the following: an alternative method for logistics delivery in the event of a conflict with China in the Pacific, deployable air-based shelters that could be dropped anywhere on the globe for the US Air Force, embassy support scenarios in which SpaceX rockets could be used for a quick reaction force. This is if an embassy is ever attacked. So what do you make of these recent announcements, and how the Pentagon is looking to team up with SpaceX? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comments section below, and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.